I think Iona said she was gonna listen in.
Okay. Logan's usually here.
Yeah.
Caitlin's probably late.
Oh gosh. Thank you. No, Iona said she was gonna listen in, but I haven't heard from anybody else. Do you go to Opens? The Berkeley's Opens? I've been to, yeah, I've been to a couple, but I've just been, yeah, too busy to go. Maybe I could do that today.
I mean, there is a cluster, there's a group of five in the same neighborhood,
Oh,
so to
okay.
speak. And of course, I said, I mean, I'm not gonna get to them all because
Yeah.
I don't care. $50 gift card if you do all five. But there are two across the street from each other right near where I live. And I definitely want to see.
Yeah.
One of them I think is gonna go quickly because it's the one that's priced reasonably.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, she must be running late.
And I'd like to go see Becky.
Oh yeah.
She has a new one.
Uh-huh.
And
Is
Mhm. So first of all, look at the double stick back up. You can look at some. Hey, hey, look at some of the.
Hey, Megan.
Hey.
What are we learning about today?
Staging.
Staging.
Yes, Caitlin is doing staging. Did you see her, I don't know, see her last week? Or a week before, whenever she was covering for Keith while he was,
Okay.
yeah, Friday morning. She did an excellent job.
Wonderful.
Good, yeah. She did a great job.
Cool beans.
Morning, guys. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Gavin, good morning.
So you
Good
mentioned
morning.
the tune cars? Was that your little mini yesterday?
That's the one we bought for my wife, yeah.
Oh, so cute.
Nice.
She's,
I love them.
It's, yeah. So she had a Prius.
Right, I think I've seen you in that before. That's a
Um,
big difference from a hybrid to a, because they don't make a hybrid, do they? Mini?
Not that I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I'm a little peeved at Toyota at the moment. Her car was only, the Prius was only in 2010, and she had 118,000 miles on it. But it started just having excessive oil consumption, which is a problem that Priuses have.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, for
Not
certain-
leaking or anything, they, I mean, yeah,
It's
just burn.
a ton of oil.
Yeah.
So there was a recall that was issued. Took a car to the dealership and they said, yes, the year of your car falls within the recall. However, your specific VIN number is not associated with recall. So we understand that the problem that you're experiencing is the exact problem why the recall is issued.
Right.
But
However.
Toyota did not include your VIN number as part of this
So
recall.
sorry.
So bye-bye.
No way. I would have gone further and further.
So basically, I look at it this way, I Googled it and it said, I don't know, that year, 120 some odd thousand Priuses were sold in the US. And so what they did is they probably took half of them and they said, okay, we'll piss off half the people and we'll make half the people happy. You know, this is just what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So the dealership set a minimum of $6,000 to replace the engine. And at that point, we said, no, bye. But
Yeah.
the good part of that was, this past Friday before, we actually went to Newport News to get the car in that like torrential downpour Friday, like a week and a half ago. And we actually took the Prius to the CarMax on camphouse.
Uh-huh.
I was expecting like $1,000.
Yeah, yeah.
$5,500.
Really?
Well, it's like when my husband wrecked his Corolla, we just
Yeah.
knew that they were only, sorry, you're ready.
No, I'm not.
We thought we were only gonna get maybe 1,500 and he got almost $6,000.
Yeah.
We were
My
like,
mom was-
no way.
She just sold her Mini, she had 2-door like Mini Cooper.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, CarMax was very generous,
They
like
were.
more than, she got more than
And
dealer.
that's
than
why
my
they don't
dad,
have
like,
on the other end.
right, they didn't haggle. She was like, if I was in that position and I didn't wanna haggle, my dad likes to do that, but if she didn't want to and she went, I mean, he got more at the dealer, like
Yeah.
$1,200 more, but if
Sure.
you didn't wanna go in there, it's literally worth your mental,
Yeah.
health not to have to do that.
Oh, I agree.
Um,
So yeah, we were very surprised, but I had to buy my Mazda at the beginning of May, so
Right,
we've spent almost
Yeah.
$40,000 in 6 weeks on cars.
oh,
what?
Yeah.
What is she has a new Prius?
She had a 2010 that was experiencing this problem, so we sold it, and she wanted a Mini,
She did.
so we got her a Mini.
Oh, cool.
was that the
Did she get a
Club or the
cheaper-
Countryman or?
Yeah.
It's a country Mini.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, getting personal, we're hoping to expand the family.
Of course, well, of course,
Yeah.
yay.
Well, yeah.
So we went to.
A 4-door
She wanted a
backseat.
2-door. I said, well, we're gonna do that. We gotta get a 4-door.
Yeah.
So,
I think my mom.
Tell her that or a minivan.
You see, she got her Mini.
She did get a
got
minivan.
her.
well, she did the typical. There's no way in hell I'm gonna buy a minivan, and I said, I'm not gonna fight you in that,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
that's fine.
That's what
And
she
just
said
right
now.
That's so great.
Happy wife, I don't sleep on the couch.
And she gets her, so the clubman, I don't know if my mom's a clubman or a,
Countryman.
what's the countrymen have like the long lights in the back, right?
Oh.
I don't remember.
The-
They look like, they're a four-door, they're both four-door.
Both 4-door, and one has barn doors, and
Oh.
one, I think,
Has
flips
the
up.
hatch.
Yeah,
My mom has like the hatch.
I have a friend that has the country club of the club, whatever it's called, and it has it's a
The
big
barn
car,
doors.
but a
Yeah.
still short
Was that the
person.
more square one, I think, right?
They look longer,
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it, like,
and you sit,
Yeah.
I mean, for a short person, I could never drive anything like that, I sit down too low.
I mean, honestly, I like it, well, it's a stick shift, yeah, I love it, it's
Oh.
fun to drive this.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
rather-
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mhm.
That's all I grew up
That's
with, and
fun.
then
I love when it rains,
first,
you can actually feel out.
Oh my gosh.
that's the guy thing.
She's like, oh, great, that's a perfect baby car, yeah. That's
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can get started. Does that mean that that's live?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, whoever's watching, I think Yano's gonna tune in. And whoever.
Good morning.
Go ahead. I was just gonna start and do, so I've taken like a couple courses on this, I do it on my own, but I was just thinking like sort of working from the outside in. I touched on this, I think Michael touched on this too when I did my, LFC bill. So, yeah, there were just different, little, things that I wanted to say on there that I didn't get to. So, the small tricks, I forgot, we can come back if you want, but, working from the outside in, I mean, it can be tricky. I know when you are trying to convince the seller, to, hey, come on in, no worries, we just started. Convince the seller, they're like, well, I don't wanna spend, I can't spend any
Just move
money.
that chair over.
Oh, yeah,
that way.
please, just do
Here we
here.
go.
They don't wanna, convincing them to spend, I just started, just started staging outside in. How to spend the least amount of money preparing a home for sale. So not spending a fortune, but the little things you can do. I always like to use the phrase, paint is money in a can. It is just something as simple as fresh paint, whether you're doing it yourself, or getting someone to do it if you're not in that position to do it. Fresh mulch, a run to Lowe's is worth its weight in gold. Like fresh, a fresh mulch, that kind of thing. One of the things I touched on in ILFC Bell is when working outside in. So a buyer's standing at the front door and you're unlocking the lockbox. You have 30 to 45 seconds, you're chit-chatting, whatever. While you're unlocking that lockbox, they're starting their judgment from the outside in when they are starting to study around the front door. They're looking around and that kind of thing because, if you put yourself in a buyer's shoes, it's like buying a car, like we just talked about. What's the first thing you do? You walk around the outside and look at it. You're using a sort of a scrupulous eye, almost looking for things to not be up to par. But cracks around the foundation, new light fixtures, like that is just at the front door. I had a listing, I said, just drive-bys are your first showing. Get a new light fixture outside. Go to Lowe's, you can look at them for $50 or less. And it just says fresh, and that's a judgment from the outside in, like starting outside. Dark foyers, that's one thing that usually if you don't have when you're working in, and you don't have, windows or a lot of light in a foyer, well, why do you think when you walk in, if you could have a table with a mirror, the mirror reflects the light off the front door or off of the side panels. So anything, instead of having a picture when you walk in to draw your eye, having a mirror there, number one, it draws you further, and two, it reflects the light. Timers, I cannot say, put lights on timers, like, especially during, summer, we have longer hours, but, of sunlight, but during the fall, when we start, it starts getting dark at 5:30, tell your sellers, put timers from say 5 to 9:30. Usually people aren't gonna be driving by in the pitch dark and doing a drive-by, but having that just around the front of the house, doesn't have to be in the bathrooms and whatever, but around the foyer, even literally a light on a timer, then they don't have to think about it. It's one less thing for them to be like, oh my gosh, my house on the market, okay, what do I have to do at night, whatever. It's one less thing they are stressed out anyway of starting to move. Put a couple lamps, like right by the front, like just by the front windows. It just creates a warm, inviting feeling. You guys know this, it's an emotional purchase, it's an emotional transaction, probably more than people, people think. I always like to do ferns in the summer because, that's sort of like a plush green. When you invite the outside in, putting a fresh plant, that creates a feeling of fresh and inviting and breath. And again, it's just sort of one of those strategies. Succulents, oh my gosh, you don't have to think about them. Even putting them even in your vacant properties, you're gonna go there once every 2 weeks, I would hope maybe once a week. Succulents in a bathroom. There are studies that show, like, think about hotels, you go in there, anything that's like freshness or something that's bright, and a succulent is low maintenance and something to put on, on the counters. I'm gonna go back to my notes, give me a second. I also think it is, and I struggle with this, maybe this is, I don't know, I think I can't be the only one, but I like to do, so I would stage myself for sellers, but I kind of have to gauge it. If it seems as though you don't want to be almost like the bad guy where you're going in and everything's like, I'm your professional, I'm your realtor, I have a set of skills and this is my job. To go a step beyond is staging their house. People get they can get offended by your suggestions. So using terms that have helped me, like buyers feel, don't say home, say house. Don't say, your nest, say property. Using words that are more generic, that are a little bit emotional side of it, disconnects them from the property. Again, your home, you decorate a home, you stage a house. I have a product to sell. Now we have to look at this as a product to sell. We are selling to buyers. We want to appeal to a wide array of buyers. And the number one thing, one of the top 5 things in buyer studies, buyers walk in, they want to imagine their stuff, and the more clutter, the more personalized, the more, decor that sellers have, the harder it is for them to visualize. It's overwhelming. On the opposite end, a vacant house is hard for buyers are not visual. They can't see what's not in front of them. So we can kind of get to that in some really, really cost-effective ways. So they have too much stuff. They're like, what do I do? In general, things smaller than a softball size. Anything smaller as knickknacks, smaller than like a grapefruit or a softball, nix. It's just a general rule of thumb. It's easy in the seller's mind to be like, okay, grapefruit, okay, softball, anything teeny tiny, because number one, it's too much. And in photos, it doesn't show up. It becomes too grainy almost. You're not going to pick it up in a photo, and you're not going to, it's just going to distract a buyer that much more coming in and being like, oh, diplomas on the wall. You can still have photos. I like to say completely scratch them, but again, you're kind of have to gauge your seller there. If they have this gorgeous piece over the mantle of their family, it's like, maybe that could go because that is going to be an immediate, it's almost like a focal point. And we don't want to turn that into a focal point. Let's make that more of a generic. Take that down. It's a beautiful piece. It made it your home, but let's put a generic piece where someone else can use their imagination. A buyer can use their imagination and start to paint their own canvas here. Some other tricks and tips. I'm trying to find my notes here. It's all coming up. So if you let a buyer, so sellers you know, having sort of different levels. A, they want to do it completely themselves. They're on a tight budget, maybe. They are a little type A, but they want to do it themselves. You're going to have to probably handhold a little bit more and go room by room. I like to say, look, if you are not, I would bring in my stager. I have a couple different stagers. On my dollar, I bring and I cover the consultation. I bring a stager in, and the stager tells the sellers what to do. They go room by room, and it's a consultation, and they're essentially handed their homework to the sellers for them to do it themselves. Then, and usually stagers will say, you know, if you want to take pictures after you've done a room, feel free, you know, and they can kind of work together on that, and you kind of let them take that train, you know, take that ball and run. Others, stagers, they want the stagers to do it themselves. I'll pay for the consultation. Again, this is totally personal preference. I've worked at different ways in different scenarios. And the sellers pay for the stager to come in and do it. The third would be either they come in, they do with their own things. So that's sort of the middle category. Stager does it, they come in, I pay for the consult, and then the stager is going to end up doing it. And the sellers, that is the seller's responsibility if they want to employ their services to actually do that, declutter, the 3 Ds, declutter is one, donate, distribute, or disperse. That is a way for sellers to imagine, okay, what am I doing with my stuff? Well, the things that you're not going to keep, you donate, you disperse, you give to family members, maybe you're giving it to a charity, maybe this, or pitch. The other thing that's so hard, and my own parents just moved, I saw it firsthand, and my mom's been in real estate for 30 years, and she's been doing the same thing. They paid to move things that they didn't use in their new home. Yeah. So they knew where they were going. A lot of people don't know where they're going. You probably don't yourself. If you know where you're going and you can imagine those spaces, it's like, I can't believe that we moved that bed. We knew we had 4 bedrooms. Why the heck did we move a 5th? It's like, well, we might need it. It's like, but guess what? That weight on the truck, you're paying to move something that you're ultimately throwing away. So it's in the way. It's in the way. It's one more thing that's taking up your garage space. That's just one more. So stagers will say, look, that's another step that they can help with. Again, I have clients, sellers, we're moving to new construction, and that I had a stager go and look at the floor plans and actually help them say, look, what are we going to take from here? Because it was very overwhelming to the sellers. What are we going to take from this house? It's okay if you don't have every room filled, but we want to know what you like, you know, to take to the next place. That's also a huge help because that can be hugely overwhelming. Get your team, you know, we have a whole Rolodex of great, you know, service providers. Like Michael says, we're the source to the source. Let the stager take it and do that. Just offer that suggestion to say, look, they can help you put this in the next spot and not move stuff.
Well, like you say, it kind of takes you as the bad guy out of the picture a little bit.
Exactly. And again, this is gauging your seller. If they are feeling a little like, and this comes in as a strategy, you can ask them, say, you know, if you start to feel comfortable, a part of the service that I offer is, you know, I also help stage. Would you be comfortable with us going room to room and going one room at a time? This is the other thing. Don't do it in the same appointment when you're going to talk about something else. If you're going to sign the listing agreement and talk about comps and this, that, and the other, it's too much. Their brain is going to just, you are going to have this cloud. Make a separate appointment, going in and saying, okay, I'm going to come back and give them, kind of paint the picture ahead of time. Here's what I'll do. This is what I do. I like to go room by room on my own and take notes. Take pictures. I can't stand, it's like the #1 thing, and ask any photographer, it's beautiful to have a kitchen table with a bowl of low fruit, but when you put a vase like this in the middle and you're taking a shot, it's covering like the range on the other side. It's covering seeing through. Take a picture, because your eye, tell sellers this too, as they're staging their own rooms or starting to declutter and take a picture, because you'll be, and put it on an iPad, put it on a big screen. Don't look at it on your phone, put it on a big screen and study the photo. What do you see that might be a little too small, that really doesn't show up? What do you see that might be blocking something else? A lamp in a bedroom. If you have a lamp that is right here, as you're taking a photo on a table right as you walk in, and your bed is across the room, in those wide angle lenses, this is all that you're seeing. It is the lamp, because again, the photo sees something different than your eye. It's, you know, a great wedding photographer is going to capture a different emotional feeling of an event than VA Home Pics or whoever, John Hancock, is going to do in a still room setting. And it's just very, it's a different type of photo. It's a different type of art, I guess. So taking a photo of each room and tell them to like send it to you, send it to the stager, you know, how's this going? Oh, you know, look at those shelves, you know, are those books out of balance? Should we have the things, you know, a little bit switched around? Built-ins. It's okay to let the shelves breathe. People say, oh, you're chock-a-block full. The only time that I think it looks really cool is if you have every shelf filled in like a handsome set of built-ins in a home office, and they're all like, you know, they're chock-a-block full, but they're each row. It's not like little gaps here or there. If they're built-ins in like a living room, you want it's okay to let it breathe. Let the built-ins, let that buyer use their imagination of their things that could go in there versus just having it cluttered chock full with all of yours. Julie something or other. I study a lot of these things. I think it's fascinating. Her rule, well, a lot of stagers, but using the triangle effect. Books, something in between the books. You're making a triangle. That's how you do the sides of, you don't put that in the center of a built-in, you do that on the side.
So you put something on top of the books that are horizontal.
Put something right of size. Again, softball size or bigger. Triangle design. Staging house. I was trying to give like a visual sort of example. The other thing, so that is sort of the triangle shape. It's very hot.
It's very hot in here.
I wish they had fans in here. Yeah. We're hot, guys. I don't know if you're watching, but it's toasty. The other thing is the layer effect. It's okay to put, you have something layered, so you have a photo, and you have something in front of it that's 3D, and then you have something long next to it. So you want something stacked, books stacked, you want a long basket, and perhaps you want a picture frame behind it. Here's an example. And they won't be able to see this, but it's a good example. So, well, these are a couple of good examples. And you can do the 2-3-2 rule. You can do the 3-3-2 rule. I always work in odd numbers. So, and I'll turn this to you, Bert. Here's something stacked. Here's something horizontal, vertical. Thank you. The I like this idea with the basket. So something long, something stacked, like there, horizontal, and so long, stacked, and layered is okay. Those are 3 things. Greenery, throw some greenery up on the built-ins. I mean, that's always nice because again, it pulls a sweet feeling. You want to do neutrals and accessorize with color in a bathroom, wall color, in any bedroom. As neutral as possible and accessorize with color because those things can be changed. Matching a pillow with a vase, with this, that, and the other, go in and just help them to say, okay, in this room, like if you have a cellar with a ton of stuff, we're saying, okay, we're gonna go down by half, but let's keep a color in mind. So help them, if they have red pillows, stick with that. If they have some blue in their pillows, pick up some blue and use that predominantly. Having this rainbow of colors is, you've seen it online, buyers skim right over it. It's too overwhelming. If they're looking at an average of 10 listings at a time online, they're skimming right over the listing that's too cluttered and too busy. Less is more. This is actually a perfect example. So this is like almost like the triangle here, like they kind of make triangles. Do you know what I mean by that? And then like a layer effect, which is cool. So like almost like a triangle, see in this corner, a layer, and I don't know, stacked or something. So we can go room by room if we wanted to, and you probably know this. I'm working with a seller now that's like, I don't want to do a thing in the bathrooms. I just, or kitchen. It's like, those are the rooms that are the most lived in. Those are the ones that draw a buyer first. Taking knobs, go to Lowe's, taking your old knobs off of kitchen cabinets and replacing, it's such an inexpensive way to have a fresh, new feel. Paint, again, painting cabinets like that gray, everything is grayish these days, gray beige. Some of my favorite colors are accessible beige, to Benjamin Moore. You'll see it a lot in builder models. And natural wicker. Natural wicker can go in any room. It's great in bathrooms because it's bright. It's just that even, great, neutral, not too yellow, it's not too gray. Natural wicker actually has been around forever. It used to be called Misty Mica, and when it changed names, it was like, no, they changed it's like, no, it just changed names. But those are two really, really good ones. If a seller is not in a position to do, oh, this is another good one, I'm gonna back up. Staging is always less expensive, more affordable, costs you less than your first price reduction. You reduce price in maybe a minimum of $5,000. You could stage a 3-bed, 2-bath home, just the main living areas, for half of that. If it was completely vacant and you bring that in, your home's gonna be on the market for shorter time. It's just because when we're on the market and you get through the home inspection, you can get that stuff out of there. It doesn't have to be a monthly, expense. It's gonna stay on the market longer. It's money in their pocket, being that you are going to condense that DOM. If they don't want their home staged, I think it's fun. I think it's great to use their own things. They have to either do a storage room or a pod. People don't care, buyers don't care that the storage room is chock-a block full. As long as they can see in it, they know that that's a storage room. It's like, oh great, look at all their stuff in here. That means that I can chock mine full of stuff too. What have you guys run into in rebuttals or comments?
I think sometimes people just don't see past their own clutter. And so I had one client, and we actually looked at a home before we put their house on the market, which was great because I could use that and say, remember what that house looked like we were in the other week?
Right.
That's a prime example of what we want your house to look like. But they still just couldn't see past.
Get them on the MLS or something to look at certain homes and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
look at,
Oh yeah.
Right.
look at I mean, I had a lady that was on
Great
all the
idea.
time looking for another house he had to go to, I mean, a lot of things going on, but anyway. Hopefully, she was gonna learn from looking at everything being so minimalized
Perfect,
that she's
perfect.
gonna get rid
That's
of
And
it.
a
then
great
even
idea.
too, doing like broker tours and stuff, sometimes it's nice to put it back. Well, the other
Right.
agents said.
Yeah,
I've done that.
Yes,
too.
feedback
Yeah,
Yeah.
use that feedback. Yeah, real feedback. I've even used, and this sounds, I won't use any true examples, but I have used even expired and withdrawn listings if there's still a full, 50 photos on there. If it's a great example of what not to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Have it in your mind, have that MLS
Yeah.
number and be like, hang on, and you plug it right in. And put in a prime example, it can be sold, whatever. Denise Ramey is, every one of her listings looks incredible. But she does not, she has a team that goes in and they even have said, they're like, we are, so staged to sell, 3 ladies, they're incredible. They use their own things, but Denise also has an inventory of her own stuff, which is kind of cool, like a huge storage unit. But her listings always present beautifully. When you're gonna walk into a Denise Ramey team listing, it's going to be presented well, and she's gotten a reputation for that, and she uses that with her sellers.
Yeah.
And it works. When you walk into my listings, I have a certain, you can even say, like, you have to toot your own horn. I have a certain caliber that my listings show. It works. I have lower days on the market because of it, so please take my advice. This is not something personal. I want to help you sell your property faster. That's the goal. To sell it faster, because it's like, okay, what do I do? The biggest thing that I hear, I would say, is, what do I do with, like, while I'm staged? Like, I can't live in a staged house. Au contraire.
Yeah.
It is actually easier, because then it's not the mad dash when you get a call 30 minutes before, you know how it all is. I'm sorry, we just drove by. Is there any way 30 minutes ahead of time? And you're like, give me an hour. It's not the mad dash and the anxiety. It will help them in the long run. You're gonna say
As a seller, my favorite time, and this right now as a potential seller,
Yeah.
my favorite time is while it's listed, which is hopefully short, because by then, it's like getting a term paper done, by the time you get it listed, it's gonna be so nice, the counters are gonna be clear, the things are gonna be away, out of sight,
right.
maybe out of the house, and it's just that freeing.
It
Right
is.
now, I'll come
It's
in
yeah,
here.
liberating. And then you realize the things you
Yeah.
don't have to have around.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
true. People, when you have a bunch of things on the countertop in a bathroom, that's where you spend, especially us ladies, that we have all of our everyday things on the counter. How about the things that we don't use every day? What about the backup lotions, the extra this, that? Those things can start, and I always say, start to pack those. You're gonna pack them anyway. If it's your extras under the sink, clear out that. You know that buyers are gonna be looking in your drawers and your closets. Start to pack those away now, your non-everyday things, and everything on the counters, you have a free drawer. Put the everydays right in a drawer. It's easy enough to do your makeup, do everything in the morning. Guys, putting their shaving stuff, just put it right in a drawer, and the non-everyday things start to clear out. Same thing with in the kitchen. Nobody uses, the crab boiling pots like every day and the huge skillets. Those things that are party platters, start to do those and free yourself some space from your everyday items that can be stowed easily. Leaving the 3 things on the counter, I always say put knives away. It's a safety issue. You never know if your buyers are gonna have kids and they're curious and we don't have eyes. Always put the knives away up high or somewhere away, like in the pantry, that it's not gonna be that a kid's not gonna open a lower cabinet and like pull out a knife kind of thing. Open houses, same thing. Always, if I'm there, I always put them away. Sometimes I even forget to put it back. I'm like, I'm sorry, I put your knives away. It's a safety thing. Leaving the coffee maker out or the Keurig kind of thing. It's almost cute if you wanted to make a little coffee bar. Trays, I love a good tray. Tray consolidates. Tray says clutter concise clutter. And it's okay if they have, one tray that you're pulling out of your remote controls, your magazines, your whatever it might be. You have it in an all tray. If you put it in a tray, how easy is it gonna be to put that and put it in a drawer or a cabinet? Love trays. While staging, use a tray. It's easy to up and move. Move some of your everyday stuff. If I can find it, I will. Yard. Taking things, again, the whole softball size, it's a little harder when you have, bird feeders and things that sparkle in the sun, whatever. I always say all yard ornaments go away. If you had one or two on either side of the front door, again, it's cute and you're presenting the entrance way. One or two things is okay, but everything else goes away. Again, it's one more thing for a buyer to be distracted by when they're trying to visualize themselves. Having a lawn service, oh my goodness, like if you have a seller who's out of town and they are the ones coming back and forth, it is gonna be worth it during their home sale expenses to get a lawn service every other week. It's off their list. Yes, it's an expense now, but guess what? We're selling your home. We can sell it faster, maybe for more, but just presents and yes, exactly. If you guys don't have lawn people, add those to your list. It's unbelievable. Megan and I had a rental up in Green. The tree service, like this tree, I have had now like rotation of 2 tenants, and I'm like, it's gonna happen next week. If that tree is falling on this house next week, it's been over a year. So I was like, look, it is worth it. I mean, it was a pretty penny, but tree work is so unbelievably expensive. Yeah. It's less expensive than it crashing through your roof or coming through your deck, or having the liability of having somebody, heaven forbid, a tenant get hurt or something if you have it occupied or not. So
especially all this crazy weather.
Right.
I'm wondering if that tree is up after yesterday's storm.
It came, so we got it taken down, thank goodness. Yeah, they didn't grind the stump, so it's not the prettiest, but it is, and that's an extra expense too. It is what it is.
It's a rental property.
It's a rental, exactly. And things that, if they're ready to get on the market, I have a listing coming up and he's like, I'm ready to go. It's been 3 years. And of course, I'm ready to go. Like I got tenants in there for 1 more month and I'm ready to go. That's going to be on a different timeline, than we're thinking about, we love this, we're thinking about moving and it's going to be this, that, and the other. They may have 2 years. It took my parents, you probably know this. It takes forever. It's to start to declutter, start with it took them a year to do the storage room, just to be able to clear that out. So exactly, put them on your sphere of influence, stay in touch with them, especially for the opportunity. We love it. They're like, we're thinking about selling, but it'll probably be 2 years. Great. That's down the timeline. Start with the things that need the deferred maintenance. Having the pre-listing home inspection is, in some cases, I had that happen too. It is more valuable than you can imagine because it just prevents, as you know, issues coming up later that we could have prevented ahead of time. And use a good inspector. Use your pickiest inspector. Maybe not the pickiest inspector that you would love, that's going to evaluate a 40-year-old home to new construction. For your buyers, I don't want that guy. The guy that's the picky one. And you could do a radon. You don't have to do radon. It's going to have to come up sooner than later to have it tested. So I'm still trying to find. Give me 1 second. I have some good notes and slides that I could. They had Homes Reinvented. Her name is Priscilla Kilgore. AILGORE, Homes with an S, reinvented at Gmail. She did a course. Betsy was in there with me, Michelle Pike. I think the Conquests were in there.
Oh, yeah, that was a couple weeks ago.
It was a couple, yeah, it was at Keller Williams, and it was very good. And so giving her credit where credit's due, professionally staged properties spend 73% less time on the market. They sell for more money. They look better in print and internet ads. They receive more foot traffic. They end up on the buyer's must-see list, like we were talking about, how they are looking at an average of 10, properties at a time online. Professionally staged listings stand out in the prospective buyer's minds. Sorry, it's getting really they're viewed. So that's the other thing. The first thing as we're walking up to the front door, as I mentioned, staged from the outside in, they start on the outside and they look well maintained before you even open the door. Pulling the weeds and having some fresh mulch, they look well maintained. Who wants to buy the home that unless you're in that, flip investor category, nobody's gonna want to look at something that looks a little sketchy from the outside. Because that already puts an idea in their mind what the inside is going to look like. Let me see. So she, for instance, and again, I'm promoting her, she's Homes Reinvented. There's platinum level, again, there's different. So $500 gives you a consultation, 2.5 hours of staging, and an hour and a half of photo prep. If you ask me, it's well worth it. Gold level is less than that, $325. Silver level, that's the consultation, and you get a walkthrough and a talk consultation, and she writes it up. Again, you can always, that's the best part is after you do this, it's like, hey, can I pick your brain? How does this look? For $200 to present it and have it look ready to go.
She's not local though, is she?
She is.
Oh, she is?
Mhm.
Okay.
She's from Virginia Beach, moved here, and I liked her approach. I liked that she wasn't pushy. She was just, again, one other person to kind of add to your your list, your Rolodex.
There's someone that's in Women's Council of Realtors that stages, and I forget the name of her business, but it's basically using your own things. I mean, she uses the homeowners thing that
Yeah.
she's doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably isn't her, but.
Which I guess they would do for the most part when
Sure.
they weed,
Yeah.
but it's, I guess if you have a vacant home, then they would bring
Yeah,
in
they
whatever
They can
they
bring
have.
in. So I do remember that she does not have an inventory at this stage of the game. She is not the one with the inventory. Stage to sell, they have 7 or 8 houses worth of inventory. Isn't that funny? I can see her logo in my head because I think it's so cool. She has an inventory also. She did our Ednum. She did my Ednum listing. I'll have to get her. This is a good question. Why should I hire a home staging company when I have a realtor? Well, as I mentioned before, we are the professionals to market and sell the property. I like to do, in some cases, both. I like to stage. I think that if I have a connection and to say, look, allow me a separate appointment with you. I'm going to put my buyer cap on and I'm going to tell you what to do this or the other. If you're too busy or you just want to take that off as the bad guy, if you don't have a relationship with the seller, take it to, look, on my team, I have a great stager, bring the stager in, spend the $200, whatever may be appropriate, or have it staged a vacant property. Why should I hire a home staging company when I have a realtor? A realtor is hired to market and sell your property. A home stager is hired for their specialized skills, plus the passion for creating that fantastic first impression. After all, you wouldn't hire a roofer to do your plumbing. It's kind of a good point. So in some ways, and Yona, if you're watching, I've done vacant homes for Yona, and I can only do what I call a soft stage, just with my move and not having the inventory. I do maybe a small living space, a small living room area stage, bath and kitchen, and sometimes outside. And I would love to do it. I would love to be the stager for to come in and do that consult. And I'm the same thing. I'm 175 and I write it up, and again, I know I'm a realtor, and maybe people say conflict of interest. Yona was great that she presented it as a vacant property to me, so it's not as though I was talking directly with the sellers, but presenting it as, I have a coworker and a colleague who stages, she's, maybe I'm just a little bit more affordable or whatever it may be, gonna do the same thing. I go in and I do the consultation, and I have my own inventory of things, depending on the size. I've done a couple for Jim McVeigh, depending on the size of the house. I do a flat fee. I just do for as long as the listing, the life of the listing. It's a little harder for me to do monthly, that kind of thing. Life of the listing, it's a flat fee, and it's based on the size and how we do it. And I'd be happy to do it. So, should I put my house on the market to see if it sells first before I stage? Great question. This is not recommended. If you get a second chance to make a first impression today, 90% of buyers search on the internet for homes before contacting an agent. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And again, that first search is online. So I always like to use those kind of lines that really kind of resonate, and it's so true. I mean, that resonates with everyone, and it's true. And I'm here and having the heart to put into your home because I know what works and I know how to present this to the market the way it should be. And that is such a generic but captivating line. You never get a second chance for first impression. That's a good one.
How do you handle, and I guess every situation is different depending on your seller, carpet? Wall to wall that needs to be replaced, or hardwoods that should be, if not refinished, a good wax job of throwing some color back into it.
Sure. For carpets, if they are really worn, that is going to stand out like a red thumb to buyers. If it is between staging the home, putting the money into staging a home, and having the old carpets and not having fresh paint, I gotta say, and I love stage, put the money into the new carpet and the fresh paint, because marketing that, you're not gonna get the stage stuff unless you buy it with it. You're not gonna get the staging things when the home is sold. You can market, and that buyer will have those new upgrades, updated things like new carpet and fresh paint. I would definitely put the money into doing that.
We had debated when we moved from Illinois, our whole upstairs carpet was original. And it wasn't terrible, but we knew it needed to be replaced, and we debated. It would have been a lot easier, we thought, if we waited until the house was empty, but then the buyer wouldn't have seen that.
Right.
Well, the carpet people help a lot in moving the things, and so we did it in two different days, so that they could use a couple of bedrooms for the furniture.
And do the other ones and then rotate it back.
And it worked great, and it looked so much better. The first floor, it was only the living room that had carpet. And we knew that at the last minute, we would get new carpet in there because we had a dog, and as many times as we had it cleaned, those spots kept showing back up. But
and putting down those plastic runners, you can go get them at, just like in model homes. It says, A, we have new carpet, and B, I mean, if it gets raining outside and you're having that foot traffic from showings, it just prevents. And so having a roll of that, or telling, hey,
Footies, the booties.
or a little foot, exactly, very good. Having that at the front door. Whenever I've been there for a showing or for open houses, for please remove your shoes, I always put my shoes there. And I bring socks, because then that sets the example for those walking into the open house. Okay, they have their shoes there. I guess I should put mine. You brought up another good point about carpet. Oh, rugs. If you have a ton of rugs, usually, in photographs, it chops up the room. It will not give an idea necessarily of size or a sort of not deformed. I can't think of the word, but having it, it's not proportionate in terms of space and from using a photograph. Take up the carpets even under maybe a dining set, maybe not a dining set, but under like a kitchen set. If it really fits the room and it shows off the size of the room, great. But if you have this shrunk little 5x7 carpet in a room of nice size, it's gonna shrink the room. Proportionate, that's what I was gonna say, it was sort of disproportionate. Even things that are, if people have sort of old furniture, it really doesn't matter. Having it less is more, and just having the table and chairs in a low standing with a low profile bowl of some sort, take away all the other things around it, maybe 1 or 2 photos on the walls. People say, I paint, should I put photos back up? Having a tiny little nail hole, in my opinion, is fine, because when you take those down, I mean, toothpaste, that's a little trick. Putting toothpaste and filling that hole, you'll never see it, and a little touch-up paint. But putting some pictures back up for color is a good thing. Textures is the next. If you have okay, so we look at this.
The chairs.
The chairs. Let's look at the couch. The couch, blue, and it kind of has this satin sheen to it. You want to pull a different texture, something that of like, maybe not on that, but like an animal print blanket, a wool blanket on a leather chair, having something with a fiber, like, having baskets next to a leather couch, something in opposing fibers, is a good sort of tip or trick to feel like it's decorated. Some people don't like saying staged, that it's tastefully decorated. And some personal decorators that I've talked to, I've learned a lot from them too, and that is, that's a great trick to having, instead of having, I don't know, a leather couch or you could have a cowhide on it, which would be kind of cool. But having something of the same texture, the same feel, the same colors is monochromatic, and you want to have sort of that differentiation.
Leather couches are hard to keep the pillows.
Well, true. They kind of slide. Yeah. And maybe just having like a throw, like a fuzzy throw over the back is a good trick. Well, I'm almost. Did you guys have any other questions? I don't know how many people tuned in. Do we know how many?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Prepare your home for sale. So there's a 2-page doc that went out that Chris sent. Yep. Decision to sell, time to get prepared. So this must have been his recap from what he did on his radio show. I think he touched on that recently. So yeah, very cool. So yeah, I think that unless there's if you guys have any other questions, I'd like to promote one more thing. YPN Wednesday, tomorrow the 19th at Cascadia. Please stop by for the cookout. We have cool summer sizzle prize packs. It's at the Cascadia Clubhouse. If you haven't been there, you know where it is in Cascadia. Food, drinks, burgers.
I'm sorry, what time?
It is 4 to, did they not put it on there?
Do you see it?
No, I don't. It's 4 to 6.
Should we just
Please. I did not make this. Yeah, 4 to 6 p.m. Thank you. Wednesday the 19th. tomorrow, and yeah, 4:30 to 6, and if anybody can stop in, it'd be great. There'll be a 50-50 raffle, and I think the proceeds with this cookout, I think it's AHIP. Yeah, I think proceeds benefit AHIP. Yep, AHIP. So, I think it's $15 or $15 donation. You can pay that online, through your car, through the car portal, or you can pay it there. And yeah, 4 to 6 p.m. Didn't have it on the flyer. Awesome. I did not make the flyer, but yeah. So tell everybody, and I think we have a business meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, good time to.
So we'll promote it tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. Good. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, they're very timely for us.
Yeah.
So
you're moving?
We're
You've been
building.
in, you're building. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we're building in Fry Spring.
Okay.
On Naylor Street.
Yeah.
That little cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Starting. And,
Great.
which is, the rain didn't help last night, I'm
No.
sure.
Is it Southern?
No,
Who's
Echelon.
Oh,
Go
good.
Guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good.
And,
That's
so we're trying, because,
awesome.
yeah, our son, October 10th, he sent a text that, Mom and Dad, we think you ought to build on Naylor Street. We hadn't even been talking about building.
Oh,
But,
cool.
so it puts us just a couple blocks from them.
Right. Yeah, this will be an oak lawn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, they stayed there last night because their power was out, right outside their
I
house.
saw his post on Instagram,
Oh.
yeah.
Their mom, her mom's Lexus,
Oh,
she's over in England now for 6 months, so her mom's Lexus was just feet away from this broken.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you're kidding.
And the wires.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
You saw it,
It was
her
okay.
son on,
Eric, I follow Eric on Instagram and he was like, I don't believe this, really bad storm, we might have had a little microburst, all these trees are down, thank goodness we have power, as you can see.
So they
Oh.
get stay behind it. At Ginger's, it's just like a half a block away, but it's in a different
Yeah.
power area, so.
My lights flickered, but it was out at Boar's Head. I'm sure, did the office lose power? Were you guys here?
I don't know.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
The
It's
tail,
crazy.
we were just like right on the edge, because we were weeding the garden, and it was perfect, because it was just like a little sprinkle, and it had cooled off. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great, not that Charlottesville's getting it
Yeah.
right
Really?
now.
Yeah.
I was driving through it and it actually was scary.
People said that.
I was
they-
like, oh, yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
a rental car for a few days while my kid fussy. Oh my gosh, we're having hail.
Yeah.
In my car.
I
This is
pulled-
not my car.
I pulled up to my condo and the neighbor had obviously pulled up and he kind of came out on the porch. It was raining so hard. I was actually talking to my mother on the phone. I'm just gonna sit in the car. and take it.
Yeah.
And
Really.
his gutter must have been a little overflowing. It was pouring down, so he stepped onto ours. He came with an umbrella. I'm like, no. I'm not coming
not
out.
Yeah.
I have a rental car too, right now, and it's a Jeep Wrangler,
What's that?
and I popped the
That big, right,
Did everybody?
the blue one.
oh, I know it.
Is
Matt.
everybody-
Yes, okay, so I go in yesterday.
Is everybody wrecking their cars? Sorry.
I know, I know, I just have, I'm like, it's a loaner, it's a loaner. And, I go and I'm like, if I had, if you only have a minivan left, that's okay, I've had the minivan before. And she was like, I got you a 2019 Jeep, Wrangler soft top, does that work? I go, that'll do it.
I think that'll be fun.
So I was like joyriding around yesterday,
Yeah.
getting like a quarter tank of gas. I'm like, I'll fill it up. I made use.
Is that what you're in when you showed photos?
Yes,
Yes.
that was it. I was like, yeah, exactly. Gosh, I love
Were
Dragon
you over
Mountain.
Ragged Mountain? I can tell from actually.
Yes,
where you were.
it's such an array. I love that neighborhood because there's such an array of design in there. Rag Mountain, I mean, they're beautiful
Where
and
is
huge, and Rag Mountain off of Ivy, take the
Dick
Ivy
Woods Road.
exit, or Dick Woods,
Yeah.
take the
Yeah.
Ivy exit away from town.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, I just think it's beautiful, so, have a lot for sale there, and, well, Jim does, and, yeah, I was in there and I was like, I just think it's so cool. Have you driven through Rosemount?
Oh,
back?
not in a long time.
I mean,
It's so beautiful.
miles.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous
Wow.
back in there. I did not know. Rag Mountain, I'm sorry,
Rosemont is
Rosemont.
right before it.
Like for, oh, okay.
right before it.
Yeah.
I had no idea that
It goes
went
up on the mountaintop and.
even
Oh,
farther,
wow.
yeah, it goes back on the mountaintop, and there's not really, I mean, maybe some houses have cleared area, but, I was just kinda, again, joyriding around, I was like, I've never been back in here, and you just
It's like
go on.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, you just drove in and drove in and drove in, and I was like, oh my goodness, so, yeah. Are you guys going around to Broker Opens today?
Probably.
We're trying.
to catch a few. And it's like a few weeks ago, I went to 3, and all 3, I was saying to myself, wow, I've never been in this neighborhood. Or, wow. I've never been
Yeah,
in
that's the best thing. That is the best thing
Yeah.
to do it.
That's right.
I need to do them more if it's one thing. I've always been, Sunday open house is okay, but get to those.
I know.
Yeah.
And it does make it easier for ones you want to see that are somewhat close together. I mean, it's just
Oh,
like, you
yeah.
know, out on Dry Bridge Road, but yet you really need to see that one.
I'm telling
Roseville,
you.
know, it's.
And that's the strategy too, how agents put those broker tours together.
Yeah.
They make a big difference to get
It does.
traffic to get agents
Exactly.
in there. So,
I went to Michelle's last week, and then there was another one in that same.
There were 2 over west, other across the street, I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
right, there were 2 on.
But I'd seen
Same
her,
street.
so I went that direction. Have you found anything for Olaf? Has he found anything?
no, he's in Europe. I
Uh-huh.
actually haven't heard from him, for a couple weeks now. I have a feeling that he went to Cyprus, or wherever his
Right,
wife was.
Right.
But his kids start school, I thought, unless there's been a.
I saw something on her phone, don't say anything to her, she sees it too. She sees
No,
it,
no,
she
send
knows it.
it, send it.
There was
If you-
something the other day, and I can't remember,
You're so
I thought,
sweet,
well, Caitlin will say it.
You're so sweet. She always covered for me, and I, with a, yeah,
And it
with
was
a,
like 16 or something. So
yeah.
I know it was, but he said he could go
It's
there.
huge.
Thank you. Then I thought, God, it does have to be over garage apartment.
That's the thing, that's
Right,
the
if I
thing.
see anything, I'll just say, hey, did you
Please.
see this?
I see him in like Belvedere, although he says it's a little tight for his kid.
Yeah.
Like if he could, something with a fence yard, or yeah, the detached garage.
And the
I
ones
do
in the
like
back
that
that are
right
separate, that are detached homes are a little more than he wants to spend, aren't they? Yeah.
So, oh, well, that's sweet of you to think, happy to have you send them.
Oh.
If you see ones, I mean,
All
you're
right.
sweet to think, so, thank you.
All right, thank you, enjoyed it.
You're welcome, thanks, guys. Hola.